Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to BattlefieldOne Podcast, the best gaming podcast about Battlefield. This is episode 11 or episode 52 if you've been listening since 2014. My name is Tom, also known as the Lanky Soldier, and sadly today I'm all by myself because my co-host Ray is not available to record today because life stuff. Time zones, life stuff, work and all that kind of stuff. But I realized we still need to post an episode. The show must go on, so I'm gonna be by myself today, and hopefully you're gonna enjoy me rambling about Battlefield, So, hopefully you're gonna have fun. And actually, before I continue with everything else, I might as well mention this thing that I've been observing recently, because I usually leave these kind of conversations for our Patreon episodes, because, we talked about all different kind of stuff in more insightful way, but I might as well leave it for the public episode and just mention you what I've been observing regarding this podcast. So, like I said, I usually leave that kind of conversations for the Patreon episodes, but I might as well mention it here. So I was going through our stats for the podcast. First and foremost, you guys are amazing. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for leaving ratings, interacting with us. It's amazing. But I was really surprised about one thing when I was checking the stats for the episodes and, for this podcast and how everything is going. I was surprised about the high percentages for engagement. I was really surprised. So when I say engagement, it's like at what point people click on the episode and until when they're gonna, watching the episode. So like in YouTube, for example, the normal drop rate is like 4%. People watch it like for the first, 3-4 minutes and they stop watching. That's the average, right? So that's on YouTube. And I was really surprised when I was going through our stats for this podcast, is that we have a really high engagement percentage regarding people actually listening to the whole episode. I don't know if it's because something to do with because it's a podcast, so I can't, maybe we expect people to listen to the whole thing, but I know that not everyone listens to the whole thing. I was surprised that certain episodes literally have like 80-90% engagement rate. So that means that majority of the people that listen to the podcast actually watch the whole thing. When I say watch, watch, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, whatever, you guys are actually watching the whole, or listening the whole thing, and I'm really surprised about that. And to my surprise, those particular episodes where it's only me talking about something, those have the highest engagement rates, and I'm like thinking, do you guys really care? I mean, thank you so much that you guys care that I have something interesting to talk about and you actually guys listen to everything. But I was actually expecting where me and Ray discussing about like really interesting and weird topics about Battlefield, we'll have a bit more high engagement rate. But where those episodes where I just talk to myself, those have a high engagement rate than when me and Ray are talking about. And it's kind of find it really interesting, and I'm just gonna say thank you guys that you actually listen to me ramble about Battlefield and actually listen to the whole thing. You start at the, from start to the end, you actually listen to the whole thing, and I'm really, really grateful for that. It's just like you have no idea how much it means to me that you guys are interested and listening, what I have to say about Battlefield. Thank you for listening to my weird European accent and all that kind of stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much. But anyway, before we continue with, the conversation about Battlefield or anything, we're gonna discuss today, a bit of housekeeping as usual. Like with every episode we start, I just want to do some housekeeping. So we have time codes. So if you can't listen to the whole thing and you can't or you don't want to, understandable, and you want to listen to a specific topic, we have time codes, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or Amazon Music, wherever you listen to this podcast. This podcast is pretty much available everywhere. We have time codes, so just go in the description of this episode, click on the time code you want, listen to the topic you want, and it's there to make your listening experience much easier, and I hope that helps. Of course, follow our socials. We have our social media. I understand social media these days, it's not the best. It's very questionable, and I don't know. I don't know what to go with the social media. Social media is such a weird place these days. Twitter is a cesspool of nonsense. Blue Sky is not even released. Threads is just dead. Other social media websites or apps, whatever you call them, they're not doing great either. So I don't know. But we have our socials. I mean, we do interact with everyone that message us on those social media accounts, and you can find me pretty much anywhere at TheLankySoldier. Literally everywhere. If there's a social media, there's a big chance that my name is already there and I'm already controlling the account, so find me anywhere. And of course, you can actually follow us, on the official BattlefieldOne podcast social media. So we'll be Twitter and Blue Sky, I think. Yeah, Twitter and Blue Sky. So those the only two we have. So if you have those accounts, follow us, because we just post updates when the podcast is out and so on, when the new episodes are out, so people can be caught up with everything. But yeah, social media these days is very weird, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. But last and not least, patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Listen, guys, we enjoy making this podcast. We love talking about Battlefield. But we play other games too. I worked in the gaming industry myself. I worked at Sony PlayStation, handling PSN operations, all that kind of stuff. It was a fun job. And we love gaming. We talk about games and we love gaming, and we would love to talk about everything that comes to our mind, and we really enjoy those conversations. So if you really enjoy BattlefieldOne podcast, I can guarantee you will enjoy our live gaming gathering extra episode on Patreon. And the reason it's called extra because we used to have live gaming gathering podcast on Spotify. We still have it, but I made a consecutive decision of ending the public episodes and putting everything behind the Patreon, just because at one point we were running so many episodes, so many shows. And because we're not full-time, content creators, we're literally doing this, from passion, from our love for these games or whatever that may be. We realized, well, it's not really a good idea, and it's so much to do, and we can't keep up. So we're gonna focus our efforts on something where people are more engaged in the content we produce. So BattlefieldOne podcast and live gaming gathering extra podcast on Patreon. So if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, you're not only getting quality content that is exclusive to you, but you're also supporting us, and that financial value helps us to produce more content for you to enjoy. And you get early access to the show, of course, and the best way to support us, because I don't want you to donate money to us. Yeah, it's nice to see once in a while, like a couple of donations. Yeah, it's really nice, but I will love you. I don't want you to donate money to us just for the sake of it. I want you to get something out of it. So if you are going to give us money, at least I know you're going to get something out of it. You're going to get something, some content and all that kind of stuff. So if you subscribe to the Patreon right now, you're going to get all the backlog, back catalog episodes. You're going to get all the stuff. You're going to get behind the scenes. You're going to get some extra stuff. And sometimes we do giveaways on the Patreon. We already did, 3 giveaways. I give away FC or FIFA code, whatever you want to call it. I think I gave away 15,000 maybe worth of coins in Apex Legends, and I think we give away that rally game that came out just recently. And yeah, so even if you don't want to subscribe, at least join as a free member and maybe take part in one of the giveaways that we do give away good games once in a while. So thanks to EA. So thank you, EA, for providing us the games. But yeah, check it out. We have content, we have stuff. It's worth your time, I think. If you enjoy the BattlefieldOne podcast, I think you will enjoy the Patreon episodes we have there. So patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Check it out. I think it's worth your time, and you help us out. It does help. And of course, most importantly, just share the podcast everywhere. If you really enjoy this podcast, share with everyone. Let everyone know that this podcast exists, because we want to start a conversation. We love having conversations about Battlefield, regardless how controversial or stupid or whatever the conversation may be, I want to be involved in conversations that makes people think. You know, I heard jokes and everything, from people like, "Oh, you guys are wrong." Yeah, but this is a podcast. We don't have we talk about stuff that may or may not be true, and we do specify if this is true or not, or when it's speculation or just idea, exploring something. It's a podcast. It's a podcast where people get around to talk about something that they care about, and so just if you really enjoy our discussions, share with everyone, let everyone know. All right, so before I continue, let me have a sip of tea because I'm gonna be talking for a while. All right, so let's get something out of the way. News. Nothing important happened in Battlefield these days, but I might as well get those news bits out of the way so everyone are caught up with everything. So Season 6 for Battlefield 2042 was extended, and Season 7 starts in March 2023, so basically in a month since this episode is going to be out. And between Season 6 and Season 7, there's going to be like a 2-week downtime, and with Control game mode being in rotation for that time. Don't really care about that, but whatever, for people that haven't played that mode, you can play it now. So, and there's a picture released by DICE of one of the 2 new upcoming maps for Season 7. And before this picture was released, in the previous episode of BattlefieldOne Podcast, and I think in the Patreon one, the public Patreon episode, me and Ray were debating what kind of maps they're gonna release, for Season 7. Because we already knew the continents. There's gonna be South America and somewhere like in the Middle East. So me and Ray were debating that, is it gonna be like a Bad Company 2 map remake? And our thinking back then was, well, if they knew the Bad Company 2 servers are shutting down, so maybe they can make something, as a, I don't know what you call it. I can't remember what word I use for that. Basically, like, just basically as a thank you for existing. Like here we remade the Bad Company 2 map, but I don't think I was not really leaning they're gonna remake a map, just because looking at Battlefield 2042 development history, they never really remade any maps except for Portal. But Portal was abandoned many many months ago. It's only like literally one guy just working on Portal. It's just adding some tiny stuff to Portal for people to use. The Portal is basically non-existent. It's not worth your time in Battlefield 2042. But anyway, going back on the maps. So me and Ray was speculating it's going to be like maybe a Bad Company 2 map remake, and maybe one of them is going to be a jungle map. So from the picture DICE released, it's like, looks like it's going to be like what's it called? Atacam Desert? Atacam? I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically it's one of those deserts in Chile, in South America, and there's a Bad Company 2 map literally called Atacam Desert, and people thinking like, oh, it's going to be the remake of that map and so on and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a straight remake, just because Battlefield 2042 never did a straight remake. They did a map that was inspired by a particular map, like, let's say, how's that Season 5 map called? Not Redacted. Oh my god, what's the name? The boat. Oh, excuse me, I really need to. Season 5 map. Battlefield. What was the map called? Reclaimed. Oh my god. Why are they named Redacted and Reclaimed next to each other? It's just like, I get confused. Anyway, Reclaimed. And Reclaimed was inspired by Zavod, from Battlefield 4. So, assuming they're gonna do the same, do we think it's gonna be somewhat inspired by Bad Company 2 map? Maybe. God knows. We don't know. But at the same time, I don't really want to speculate too much, just because it's a there's a month left till the new season, and there's like, there's no point looking at the picture and try to figure out, what's the next map and so on. And it's just a month left. Let's just wait and see. If it's like a nice nod to Bad Company 2, with that map, that's great. It's fine. I'm okay with that. I still wonder if, okay, so we already know that is going to be a South America map in Chile. I still think there's going to be a jungle or a foresty map, in Season 7. So I think the second map is going to be like a foresty map somewhere in Middle East. So maybe it's not a jungle, because I was thinking jungle is going to be like the South American one. But no, apparently it's a desert map. So I'm guessing that second map that is not announced yet or not shown is going to be like a foresty map. I'm guessing. I am just guessing. I'm just guessing. Well, that's what I would do if I was a developer and I would need maps. Because I look at the maps we have, in the game, and I was like, well, we need to make some more, maps in this specific biome, this specific area, because to bring variety, because you don't want to have the same, you don't want to have maps that are literally the same, that's not really a good thing. So I hope it's going to be like a foresty map, and yeah, I don't think it's going to be a jungle map if it's like somewhere in Middle East, but a forest? Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, Caspian Border technically is a forest map, technically. So, we'll see. Some people speculating that, maybe it's can be a remake of Grand Bazaar and Striker Karkand, because it gives you that vibe that it could be that. But, you know what, again, it's a month till the new season. There's no point speculating at this point. It's kind of like, just sit and relax and wait. If it is, it's great. Like, whatever the case may be, there's no point stressing too much about it. But there's some interesting tidbits were discovered in the picture, because I, for example, was talking to Ray. I think it was like the last episode. No, I think it was like episode 3 or episode 4. I can't remember. One of the episodes we talked about. Oh, it was storytelling. Here we go. It was. I think it was episode 5 or some crap about storytelling, and we were talking about, well, where's all the because it's a sequel to Battlefield 4, and it's basically a prequel to 2142. So we're thinking, so where all the factions that's supposed to be, emerging, in that timeline? At this point in 2042, you have Russia and USA, the only factions, and Europe is basically destroyed. But someone discovered that in the picture of the map picture that DICE released, you can see the another coalition. How's it? Pan Asian coalition emblem in that picture, and that's really cool to know that we finally. Well, I'm guessing that's what it is. It's not just a prop. It's actually some sort of lore storytelling bit there. That hey, they basically confirm, yes, 2142 is still a thing, and we want to connect those games in this universe. So that thing is, the Pan-Asian Coalition is a thing, and it's gonna be, become a reality soon. And even though they already teased that in the Battlefield 4 game, in the Finance Down DLC, you could see the logos and everything of that coalition, that not organization. It's like it's basically it's a coalition of Russia and China basically working together to make one singular military superpower. That's basically it. And in 2142, there were two factions: the European Union, basically, and the Pan-Asian Coalition. So basically, Russia, China versus Europe. That was the setting for 2142, and both these nations were fighting for, for the resources of the planet, because planet is dying and so on, and so all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of goes in, well, in terms of lore-wise and everything. So maybe we're gonna get a new faction, maybe, or at least a nod to the faction. And we're gonna talk about the next game soon, but maybe, just maybe. So I hope it's gonna be a thing, because I really want to know that the Pan-Asian Coalition is actually a thing, because it basically connects all the games into one universe, and that's great. Anyway, but that's for later. Like, the new maps coming out in a month. We can wait. There's no point speculating. Let's just wait to see what DICE will show and say, and that's good. Alright, so let's talk about something, topics that come out in the last month. There's not really like topics or news to discuss, mostly like ramblings. And of course, it's already 2024. We're in January, and I think it's safe to say there will be no new Battlefield game this year. I will be really, really surprised if that's the case. Actually, I think EA already announced that there will be no Battlefield game this year, but I don't remember. There was like a quote somewhere from the financial call or something like that, but I don't know. The point is, I don't think there's going to be a new Battlefield game this year, and that's great. No matter how much I rambled about 2042, how much I disliked the game, and how it launched, how everything went on, the game is in a good state right now, and if there's no game, there's no new Battlefield game coming out this year, which I'm actually glad that's not happening, because Battlefield does need a break a little bit. I'm glad they decided, you know what, there's no new game, the least we can do is continue the live service for 2042, and just adding more maps, just continue make this game to be alive, adding more content, fixing the problems, and so on, let people be happy. And because there's like basically technically a year left for the next game to be, be in somewhat alpha stage, there's already rumblings happening about the next game. Now, let me get this straight. There's no official confirmation, there's no official leaks or anything about the next Battlefield game. This is all speculation. There's no, rumors or leaks. Well, yeah, there's rumors, but there's no leaks or anything that is concrete and we can be certain about the next game. We don't know what the next game is. We don't know what the next game, how it will be, what's going to be included and so on, and how many studios are working. Yeah, I guess EA announced how many studios are working, but we don't know the details, and now it's all speculation. So wherever you read online right now about anything, for example, I read somewhere I think I found it on Reddit maybe, someone linked an article or a screenshot of the article saying that the next Battlefield game will switch engines, and I literally replied to that Reddit post asking, okay, this is all speculation and everything. Where's the source coming from? What's the link to that article? Where's the source? He never linked me the source. He never gave me anything. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, imagine Battlefield changing engines. I can't imagine that. You want to tell me they would change from Frostbite engine to, let's say, Unreal Engine? Not happening under any freaking circumstances. Not freaking happening. So that alone, whatever that article was, I'm like, what? I mean, granted, we were wrong so many times about everything. We were wrong about Battlefield 1 being a thing, and then when it got announced, we got destroyed to bloody oblivion. I get that. But it's one thing to guess the setting of the next game. It's another to discuss topics like that, because you would... I mean, crap, do you think Electronic Arts would basically not use the Frostbite team they have and not use their own engine that's basically designed for Battlefield, all that kind of stuff? It's just switching engines. I just can't comprehend that. It's just what the hell, especially when Battlefield 2042 is on Frostbite engine, and they got a lot of new developers that are working on the next game, and they learned a lot of things from Battlefield 2042, how the engine works and everything. You think they will switch the engines now? No, not happening. It's just not happening. So I asked for the source. The source was never given. So whatever you read online these days, do not trust it unless it's from reliable people that they were right. It's, just be careful what you read, Take everything with a big ass grain of salt and just be careful what you read, Because a lot of information is really weird and it just doesn't make sense. That being said, there's already a lot of ramblings about the next Battlefield game. And there was this article on GameRant.com, and let me get this straight out of the way. I read this article from GameRant about the next Battlefield game. It was about the next Battlefield game. And the title of that article is "The next Battlefield game is caught between a rock and a hard place." Now, I read this article from start to finish. It's a really short article, and it's a really shit article. Gaming journalism in a nutshell. It's really not a good article. But basically, the whole premise of this article is basically explaining how the previous Battlefield games went on and what happened and so on. But basically, the premise is that whatever the next Battlefield game is, it's gonna struggle for many different reasons. And the first thing that comes to our the first thing that came to this guy's mind when writing this article is like, what's the setting is gonna be? So historically, apparently, like according to this article, in a sense, and I kind of agree that historical shooters are not the best thing for Battlefield, even though that's how Battlefield started. Yes, but you have to remember that was like 20-something years ago. A perfect example. So a perfect example would be like Call of Duty Vanguard, for example. It's a World War II shooter, but with a modern spin on it, but because it's a modern spin on it, that means that game was supposed to be connected to the modern games, to the Warzone client and all that kind of stuff. So all the weapons had to be transferred to that Warzone client, be mixed with modern weapons, so old weapons and new weapons, modern and, historical weapons being mixed together is just, and you play on a historical, World War II map and that kind of stuff. It was really confusing and so on. And apparently Call of Duty Vanguard was one of the worst selling Call of Duty game titles out there, which is quite something to achieve, honestly, in terms of Call of Duty. So when it comes to Battlefield 1 did really well in terms of historical, setting. It didn't sell more than Battlefield 3, that's a fact, but it did well. Battlefield 1, no matter how much I never really liked Battlefield 1, it was not a bad game, I just did not like the setting, but that's a different topic entirely. The game did well, and I think it was a good game. Battlefield 5, on the other hand, I think it's better than Battlefield 1 in terms of gameplay. Of course, minus the tank gameplay. It was not really a good game, honestly. Of course, now people are coming back saying oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. I still dislike Battlefield 5, and of course it did not sell great because of the problems he had and all that kind of stuff and so on. So you would presume the next Battlefield game is not a historical shooter. Makes sense, because when you look at Call of Duty Vanguard and how Battlefield did with other previous historical shooters, it doesn't work in a modern setting, with the live service and all that kind of stuff. So historical shooter just doesn't make sense in a long-term, I don't know what to call it, planning, or what you want to, it just, people are not going to be that interested in a historical shooter. Doesn't matter if it's Battlefield or not. Because there's loads of World War II shooters out there right now that you can play, that are a bit more realistic and less arcadey, and it's just not worth the trouble. Now, of course, you might, okay, so that means it's going to be modern. Do you really want to have sure, there's Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 and Bad Company 2 to Battlefield 3, all modern shooters. Do you want another modern shooter when there's already so many modern shooters around, especially again, Call of Duty? Gaming industry in general is a very big industry, and there's so many games out there that are modern shooters. And do we want another Battlefield game that is a modern shooter? I mean, a lot of people will bring Battlefield 4. We want something like Battlefield 4, in that setting, in that environment, something that is realistic, but aesthetically realistic. Doesn't have to be gameplay realistic, but aesthetically realistic. I get that, but at the same time, I have to agree, it is kind of, in a sense, boring. Do we want the same thing? And of course, then you have to go maybe, well, what's next? Do we want a futuristic shooter? Do we want a Battlefield 2142 type of game? you know. And this article might be not the best article out there, but it raises a good point. What kind of setting do we want for the next game? You know, do we want a historical, a modern, or a futuristic one? I personally would love to get a futuristic one, you know. And I remember I was talking to a developer from DICE like many, like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago maybe. And we were talking about like, oh, what kind of games Battlefield could make in the future. And like, and someone mentioned like, well, there's like a 50-70 year gap between 2042 and 21, well, technically 100 years. 100-year gap that you can make so many games in between. I mean, yeah, sure. Do we want to make a game that is set between, you know, 2042 and 2142? Or do we want to go beyond 2142? Do we want to go full on futuristic, full on, you know, literally space planets and, you know, fighting on a different planet, all that kind of stuff? Basically, Star Wars Battlefront, but Battlefield, you know, in a more realistic aesthetic and setting and so on, which is, in a sense, sounds really cool, but I have a feeling a lot of Battlefield hardcore player base will not like that, which I personally would enjoy that, honestly. But I don't know. I have a feeling that the best they could do, what setting they would go with, it's maybe do an actual sequel to 2042. Like, it doesn't sound popular right now. Like, why would I want a sequel to 2042? But maybe a sequel to that setting 2042, you know, is not a bad idea. You know, maybe like 2060, you know, 2070, you know, or 2072 or 82, whatever you want to call it. You know, maybe a game set between 2142 and 2142, maybe it's a bad idea, because you can go modern, but at the same time you can go really futuristic and be creative with, you know, with the weapons, the vehicles, and that kind of stuff. You know, you can have your Titans flying in the air, you know, whatever the case may be. And in my head, that makes so much sense, even though I don't think people will enjoy the idea that much. But I don't know what you can go with. Of course, there's another option of maybe it's you know, just call it Battlefield, right? There's no a title beneath it or a number or anything. It's just called Battlefield, and it's basically like what Fortnite is. You know, it's one client, everything is there, and you keep updating the game non-stop. And when you need to change something, you basically update the client. You know, remove some stuff, delete some stuff. You know, delete maps. You know, add maps, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if people would enjoy that much, you know. But EA and DICE have to think about the future of gaming, because I wonder. I don't know if we're gonna if they're gonna be the first ones to cross that barrier where the game is gonna be costing £100. You know, I really want to see I really don't want. When I say pounds, I mean like dollars. I'm talking in British money. I wonder if EA is gonna cross that, you know, threshold. Is the game is gonna be more than $70, you know, and they're gonna just make one ultimate game. But of course, I don't know that. Or they're gonna go free to play. Imagine the next game is literally a free to play title. Just imagine, you know, they will try to go the Fortnite route, because you have to remember, like, you know, the economy right now is not great. People are not spending that much money as they used to. People are very reserved on spending their money on certain things. You know, paying $70 for a game is a very steep ask for a lot of people. And if EA wants to make a lot of money, you know, like every company out there, I did say 3 years ago or 4 years ago, maybe they should try to go free-to-play route. And that was before Battlefield 2042 was a thing, you know. And now, as we see, like, with success with Fortnite, success with Call of Duty Warzone, and other free-to-play games like Apex Legends, maybe Battlefield needs to go free to play in some shape or form. Maybe they need to go free to play. Now, how that free to play game is going to work, that's a different thing. It's going to be a battle royale, or it's going to be a normal multiplayer game, whatever the case may be. We don't know. We actually don't know, but it's a really interesting idea to explore. And also, it's just like maybe I should talk about it later. But anyway, yeah, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, we don't know what the next setting is, and I don't know where you need to go with that, and what should we expect from the next Battlefield game. Of course, there's I want to mention this, that, for example, there's a video from Jack Frags, and I know I saw it, someone read it too, about people pointing out that DICE is hiring, artists for destruction. And the way that job application on DICE website is described is like work with world leading game designers or something like that, make amazing, destruction particles or destruction physics, all that kind of stuff. Basically it's describing like it's the best thing ever. And of course people latch on that because I noticed a lot that people can't read between the lines, or they don't know what the nuance is, or the context, and so on. People read a sentence and they think, oh, that's what it means then. No, you have to read between the lines. So of course it's a job application. DICE is one of the biggest studios, one of the best studios out there, out there in the gaming industry. A AAA studio with the best people and best talent out there. Of course, their job application is, the job advertising thing is gonna be sounding amazing because they want the best people. That's obvious. They want the best people at the company. They want the best talent at the company, because to make these games takes a lot of talent and takes a lot of effort, and they want the best people to work in these games. So of course the job application is gonna sound amazing, That's the point. That's what job hunting is basically, but they want the best people to apply for these jobs. Duh. So I do not, if you're listening to this, just do not think too deeply about the job applications, the job ads that DICE is posting. It means nothing, just because you get, it doesn't mean what the next game will be. It doesn't describe the next game, because this is just a job, it's just a job description, and they want the best people to work on these games, and that's obviously the job application itself will be sounding extra really cool, it's just normal, don't think about it too much. And of course I have to mention about the, when it comes to the next Battlefield game, I already mentioned about the success of free-to-play, Apex Legends, Fortnite, and, Call of Duty Warzone. And if Battlefield actually wants to go across that free-to-play, territory, they need something to offer for people to enjoy. And what these games have, like Apex Legends, Fortnite, and Call of Duty Warzone, all three of them are technically battle royales, but they have their own spin how the battle royale works. Like, for example, look at Fortnite. Fortnite has a Lego mode now and a racing mode. Fortnite is trying to become more than a battle royale game. It's trying to become a platform that people can join and play whatever they feel like playing. I feel like shooting some, players in battle royale. That's fine. I want to do some racing. That's fine. I want to play some Guitar Hero knockoff. That's fine, you can do that in Fortnite. Then we have Apex Legends, basically based on Titanfall universe, and it's a battle royale. I haven't played Apex Legends for a while just because I don't enjoy the game anymore. I really don't think the game is that fun anymore. But that's a different story. That's just my opinion. It's a battle royale, and it's based on smooth controls, even though I disagree with that. Because it's not Titanfall, it's not Titanfall. Titanfall is the ultimate shooter in my mind, and to me, Apex Legends is like Titanfall light, and I just don't like that. But anyway, they have the battle royale mode, based on movement, different tactics, with the characters, all that kind of stuff, And then you have Call of Duty Warzone, is basically Call of Duty, but it's Call of Duty in a battle royale setting. And that's one of the reasons why Warzone won back 2020, when Warzone 1 came out in 2020. That's why it was such a huge success. It's not because there was a lockdown, because of COVID. Sure, it brought more players, But the game by itself was really amazing, and that's why people sticked around to play more, and that's why Call of Duty Warzone is such a success, because it offers that something different and something unique that is not available in the gaming market right now. Like, simplified battle royale. When Warzone 2 came out last year, well, not even last year, technically yes, a year ago, right? A year ago. When it came out, they tried to be more realistic with their gameplay and more, slower, more methodical. When it came out, I really disliked it because it reminded me of PUBG in a sense. It's basically updated PUBG with better controls, and I did really not enjoy it. So they basically, Call of Duty developers brought all the stuff back to this current Warzone game. Loadouts, better map, debatable, but it's a success. People might be bitching about Call of Duty, but it's a huge success, and Call of Duty Warzone is a more exciting gameplay, has a more exciting gameplay loop than, let's say, Call of Duty multiplayer. Call of Duty multiplayer lost its, meaning ages ago unless you're playing ranked. Unless you're playing ranked, Call of Duty multiplayer it's just not fun. It doesn't matter how much I enjoyed Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer this year. Yes, it's fun, but I can only play for so long before I'm gonna get bored because it's a Call of Duty multiplayer. I'd rather play Call of Duty Warzone because there's more stakes, more ways to, do strategy and how you want to play, how you want to rotate and all kinds of stuff, how you, fight these people in this side of the map and how you can maybe go around them or whatever, because the gas is coming up your ass and you need to go inside the circle. There's more variety how you want to play the game, and there's more gameplay, stuff you can do that is more interesting, more impactful, and it's makes you think more. While in Call of Duty multiplayer is basically who can hold a corner longer or better, even though that's not how it works, but it's just more interesting. So the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is because what Battlefield can have to compete with those games, what does Battlefield can offer? Can it offer is the Conquest mode the thing that can compete with these games? I don't think so. No matter how much I love Conquest, I don't think so. Call of Duty, Battlefield Conquest is basically Call of Duty multiplayer. It's basically comes into the same category. It's just a multiplayer shooter where random particles meet together on a map and they shoot each other and determines a winner. That's the way I see it. And I think Battlefield needs something else. Well, can a Battlefield have a battle royale? I do not know, and I personally would not want a battle royale, but if it's done right, who am I to say no? At the end of the day, if it's done right, who the hell asked for Call of Duty Warzone, right? Who the hell asked for Call of Duty Battle Royale? No one. Literally no one. But it was the best thing that ever happened to that franchise, No one asked for it, but it happened, and it's now the staple of the Call of Duty franchise. Can Battlefield do something like that? I don't know. I don't know what Battlefield can do different that can compete with these games, in terms of being free to play, whatever that case may be. In case, if it's free to play something. What can it offer? A competitive mode with vehicles? Sure. But just making competitive mode these days is really difficult, just because for some reason I noticed people or gamers in general, they really hate when people are good at video games. I know it's a really weird thing to say, but I notice a lot of people really hate good players. I'm not talking about people that absolutely cheating in a video game. That's a completely different thing. No, but I think people call them sweats and all that kind of stuff, and oh, why are you sweating in a video game? I remember the days 15 years ago or something like that, or 10 years ago, where people respected good players. Oh wow, he played for so long, he's actually that good. Holy shit, one day I would love to play like him or whatever. It's not happening ever again. It's people being judged for being good in the video games because for some reason people expect video games, especially AAA shooters, to be casual and just not sweaty whatsoever. It's a shooter. It's by nature it's supposed to be competitive, and I don't understand where this mentality is coming from. that people can't be sweats anymore. They can't be good at video game, and you be basically judged forever for being a bloody sweat. I don't get that mentality. It's kind of weird to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I used to play sports. I used to play football or soccer for you Americans a lot, and I used to play basketball for my college and so on. I came from an environment where competitive thing is. That's why I play multiplayer shooters, because I love the nature of it being competitive, even though it's the most casual experience ever. I still love to win games. I still love to compete, and that's why I love playing ranked modes in these games, because it gives some sort of purpose to get better at the video game. So going back on the thing that I mentioned about Battlefield, can Battlefield make a competitive mode that can compete with Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, and Fortnite? Sure, maybe, but I don't think that's the safest choice. Is it Battle Royale? I mean, if they are gonna announce a Battle Royale for the next game, people are gonna roll their eyes oh, another Battle Royale. You're 3-4 years later, too late or whatever. But if it's done right, I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that. If it's done right, because majority of the time, when it comes to video games, art, movies, video games, and so on, it's that you don't know what you want until you play it or see it. There's a lot of games that no one asked for, and they play it and oh, this is really fun. This is really amazing. So it can happen the same thing with Battlefield, And we don't know what the next game will be. We don't know the setting. But we just know that I can assure you there's a lot of gears spinning inside DICE. How we can compete with these games and make Battlefield to be its own thing, to stand out and gain its audience back. Even we know some of the audience from other games. How do we do that? There's a lot. I can already assure that there's a lot of gears spinning inside DICE, and everyone thinking what they can do to make this happen. And also you have to remember that people complain Activision and Call of Duty are big studios, and they have 7,000 people working on Call of Duty franchise. You also have to remember that DICE, even though has a couple of studios working with them, they can't really compete resource-wise with Call of Duty, or even Fortnite, that matter. I actually don't know how many people work on Fortnite, what's the team there, but I'm guessing pretty big. So the Battlefield and DICE, they need to realize what their strengths are, what they can do best, and optimize it to this best experience to make the Battlefield game, whatever the next Battlefield game is, fun, to be fun. They will need to make some really hard decisions, of what to cut and what to keep and all that kind of stuff, because that's that reality. They don't have they don't have unlimited resources to make whatever they will love to make. So they have to cut corners whenever possible. But that being said, of course, let me have a sip. Okay. So, and of course there were discussions from other people I've seen on Reddit, I think I saw on Twitter originally, that someone was complaining that Battlefield 2042 live service is a failure, basically. And there was basically a graph made with 2042 maps, all 6 maps since each season. So each season there was a new map. So basically 6 maps, 6 huge maps, and they basically compared to Battlefield 1 DLC. One of the expansions. I think They Shall Not Pass. And that expansion pack from Battlefield 1, or Premium, whatever, had 6 maps. So technically, there were 4 DLC packs for Battlefield 1. So 4 maps each. And people basically saying oh, it's such a failure because, look, Battlefield 2042 only released 6 maps in the last year, while Battlefield 1 DLC, one DLC, released 6 maps by itself. In a sense, I get where they're coming from, that, there's the content drops, for Battlefield 2042 is really slow, really drip feeding, all that kind of stuff. I get that. But I don't think people realize that, hey, yes, you get more content in premium and those expansion specs. The problem was you had to pay for those. And when you play a first-person shooter these days, when you play a first-person shooter, it's great to have, get 6 maps instantly and you play those maps for like a month. I can assure you, no one's gonna play those maps, no matter how good those maps are, no one's gonna play those maps a month or two later after its release. And when the game is old for a couple of years, like with, let's say right now, for Battlefield 1, if you look into Battlefield 1 right now, you think you can play all the DLC maps the way you want to, with no problems? Of course not. All the majority of the player base will be playing the vanilla maps, because people that join the Battlefield 1, the people that buy Battlefield 1 like a couple of years later and want to play it, they're not gonna buy the DLC. They're not gonna do that. They're just gonna play the vanilla game. They're just gonna play the standard maps that are released with the game. I understand why people coming from the premium offers more content, but at the same time, you have to remember, people have to pay. And I don't think Battlefield 2042's live service is a failure. Can it be better? Of course, don't get me wrong. Of course it can get better. Of course it can get better. But you have to remember, this is designed to be lasting for a really long time. And if there's no new game coming out this year, that means they have to make it last longer. I don't think it's a failure. I think what they're doing is great. Of course, I wish they could add more maps or whatever. Yes, fully I agree, they could do better. But my dudes, the maps are free. If let's say I have a friend that doesn't play Battlefield, so I tell him to, like, yo, my dude, do you want to play Battlefield with me? Here, it's cheap. It's $5 right now. Buy the game for $5. Play with me, right? It's on sale. So 3 years later, he plays Battlefield 2042 with me. And he doesn't have to buy any DLCs. He doesn't have to buy any expansions. He doesn't have to buy any of that kind of stuff, because he can just play the same thing as me that I've been playing for the last 2 years. He doesn't have to buy any expansions, any maps or anything. All the content that was from day one is still there to this day in the game. And all the new stuff that got added is in the rotation with the old maps. And that is such a game changer regarding longevity of keeping these games alive. That's the point. And I remember I said, like, many years ago, like 4 years ago, maybe if not 5, said they're never coming back to the premium model because it just doesn't make sense anymore. It made sense 10 years ago, yeah, but it doesn't, because developers and publishers looked what's happening to our old games, what's happening to our old products, how people interact with those products, and they realized, yeah, not a lot of people interact with the stuff we made for the premium, for the expansions, for the premium package, because people don't buy that. It's only the hardcore players that bought the premium package. Like, that's why I say, like, some people say bring back premium for 2042. I'm like, that is such a selfish way to look at the game. You just literally want to buy content for yourself and ignore all the other player base out there. I remember there was a stat somewhere. I can't remember from where, but it was such a long time ago. I can't remember anymore. There was a stat where Battlefield 1 showed, or maybe it was an internal stat or something like that. It showed how many people bought premium for Battlefield 1. So Battlefield 1, one of the best-selling games out there. One of the best-selling Battlefield games. I think it's second after Battlefield 3. One of the best-selling Battlefield games. And only 1.5% of player base bought premium. So let's say, of course, 100% people. That sounds horrible. But even but there's loads of people. Like, just 1.5%. Even if you, like you have to remember that people, that 100%, they probably play the game for a little bit and they just drop it. So that means you have a much less numbers of players playing the game, in the next year, because it's just naturally that there's a big high when the game comes out and there's low as time goes on, because people either move on or they start playing, whatever the case may be. So from all the people that bought Battlefield 1, not even 2% of the player base bought premium. That's a ridiculously low number. Just that. So I understand why EA dropped premium entirely and why all the other games dropped that entirely. Because they know, they looked at the stats, they know what works, what doesn't work, and they understand that it's not sustainable. And they realize that. And that's why live service games are such a success these days, or at least particular ones, because they know it makes sense, it works, it just makes sense for in the long term, like keeping the games alive for a really long time. That's the thing. So when people say we bring back premium, they don't realize, they don't see the full picture. They don't see the full picture. I'm sorry, that's such a selfish way to look at the game for your own personal need, when you know that content that you paid for is gonna be useless in a couple of months because no one's gonna be playing it, And because it's a live service game, all the maps and all that content is free. You don't have to pay anything. You can come back to the game 3 years later and enjoy a brand new content that you haven't seen. You play the game on launch day, and 3 years later you come back, you see all this new stuff that you haven't seen, and like, oh, suddenly I have something to play for, And you don't have to pay a dime for it. And if you really want to pay something for it, like there's skins you can buy, just visual stuff. That's why I'm a big advocate for live service games. Yes, there's a lot of live service games that are absolute garbage, absolute shit, that just did not work and developers did not put effort in. I get that. But there's so many good live service games on the other side of the spectrum, like Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone. No matter what the problems we think we have with these games, they're successful for a reason. And there's a reason why people continue to play these games, because it just works. It just makes sense. So I can imagine DICE and EA are looking at this like thinking, what can we do with Battlefield to have this longevity? And they can see it brings benefits with Battlefield 2042 when they commit with the proper live service. Is it the best live service? Of course not. No, like I said, they can improve so many things about the live service for Battlefield 2042. But they see what kind of benefits Battlefield 2042 is bringing. Now imagine if Battlefield 2042 was an amazing game from the start. It was an amazing Battlefield game from the start. It launched on, what was it, 2021. It launched on a perfect, stable, foundation. Game is fun. It's fantastic. No problems whatsoever. Imagine what kind of numbers EA would do with a live service game like that. Just imagine. I remember comments. From, I can't remember, the former EA president. I forgot his name. I see the face in my head, but I don't remember the name. He's Australian. I don't remember the name. Anyway, one of the executives, one of the CEOs of EA, like 4 years ago, he said, like, we really sad we couldn't. How to say it? We couldn't utilize Battlefield 4 more into a live service game, because they saw how Battlefield 4 is doing with the community test environment, how DICE LA, or now Ripple Effect, how DICE LA back then did with the game, and how they brought the player base back, how they fixed the game, how they added new content, all that kind of stuff, and they moved on to Battlefield 1 after that. It's amazing that years later, they realized, oh, we kind of fucked up there, and he literally said, I wish we could have done more with Battlefield 4, because it was something that was there to be explored. And that's why, I think that's why Battlefield 2042 is why it is. What kind of live service game it is. It's a lesson from that time. They realized that Battlefield 4 was could be an amazing live service game, but they they did not capitalize on that. So they're trying to apply those lessons to their future games. Battlefield 2042 right now, and the next Battlefield game is going to be a live service game. That's just a given. You can cry about the premium and all that kind of stuff. It's not happening because they know it doesn't work, and a lot of people agree that it doesn't work. That's one of the things. So it's going to be interesting how the next game is going to be like, what they're going to decide to do with it. And also, I'm really scared about though, because Battlefield 2042 is in a good state right now. It's not I still dislike the game. I do. But I will not deny that the game is not in a good state right now, and I can fully recommend, like, if someone asks me, should I buy 2042? I say yeah, because it's a good shooter. There's stuff to play for, it's fun, maps are redesigned, new maps are fantastic too. Everything is, you don't have to pay for anything, just buy the game and play. Just play. Just stick, give them your credit card, for $10 or how much the game is right now, and just play the game. It's in a good state. And that's what worries me though, because we've been here before with the previous games. We've been here with Battlefield 4, we've been here with Battlefield 1, we've been here with Battlefield 5, we've been with every bloody Battlefield game since then. For some reason, DICE is very famous on reinventing the wheel every freaking time. They don't carry over anything from their previous games. So because Battlefield 2042 is in a good state, they're adding more features. Well, even though legacy features, when you call them, they're adding more features that are important, improving the game and so on. I'm just worried that when the next game is gonna come out, it's gonna be the same fucking story. They're gonna try to reinvent the wheel because it's a brand new idea, a reimagination, or whatever you want to call it, the Battlefield franchise. Yet again, another, different game that is so different from the previous game, that missing features because they had to make everything from scratch, missing something, and it just doesn't work. Whatever, like bloody hell, we did not have squad management for this game for a bloody year, my dudes and girls. We had nothing for a year regarding squad management, that kind of stuff. And there's still people asking for, like, let's say, a server browser or anything like that, because people want to play the games the way they used to play the old previous Battlefield games. They used to that because that's what Battlefield is, and every game DICE reinvents the bloody wheel with different, technology, all that kind of stuff, which is great. I mean, sure, improve your gaming technology, make games better, but is it worth to sacrifice all the previous quality of life improvements that you did to previous games to make the games more fun for something like what? For more destruction? I mean, it sure depends, but sometimes certain things should be there by default in my eyes. So my worry is that because Battlefield 2042 is really good right now, it doesn't matter what's my opinion about the game, it's good. I'm just worried, and they're going to continue updating the game, with Season 7, there's going to be more updates to the game, more changes and all that kind of stuff, and then probably Season 8 and 9, and Season 9 is going to be probably the last season they will do for this game, and game is going to be an amazing, fantastic sport, at the end of the year. It's going to be an amazing Battlefield game that people are going to like, what? I want to play this, and they're going to play it. And there's going to be hype for the next game. They're probably going to do something in this game to promote the next game. Whatever the case may be, Battlefield 22 is going to be in such a good state that it will be a shame not to play it because it will be so good. But my worry is because DICE are so hell-bent the way they make their games and so stubborn and maybe in a bit arrogance, in a good way. Like, again, you want to do something different because creatives want to do, explore something else. I just hope, whatever the next Battlefield game is, they can break this pattern of the game being so different from the previous game, and people are going to complain that we're missing features again. Imagine the next game doesn't have squad management. Just imagine, how many times we can do this, how many times we can do this that we're missing something. Or imagine classes that they're still gonna, let's say they're not gonna do, classes, they're gonna do specialist again, but improve this time, according to the feedback or whatever. Like, imagine the shit show that's gonna happen if that happens again. And I have a feeling it might happen again because it's just for some reason, it's DICE DNA. It's DICE DNA to reinvent the bloody wheel every freaking time, with every new game being so freaking different from each other. That's why you can't you can't even compare Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 1 because they're so different, and then Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5 so different. And then, of course, all those previous games compared to Battlefield 22, it's completely different, Sure, with time they get the features added back, but why do we have to wait a year? There's a reason why people make fun of DICE for just wait for a year because usually the game is in a shit state originally, but with time they keep improving the game and it's in a good state. Like, can we break that cycle, please? It will be great, I don't care if the next Battlefield game goes a bit smaller. It's fine. You can go smaller. You can make some amazing games that smaller scaled. All good. I'm okay with that. As long as it's in a good state and it has all the quality features that we need, that we expect in a Battlefield game. That's all I care about. I just want a good game to be released on launch day, and we can actually play with no problems, with no complaining happening about something stupid like performance is shit, my game is crashing, there's no classes, there's no squad management, that kind of stuff. I don't want to hear that ever again because I'm so tired of, with each Battlefield game happens every freaking time. I don't want to hear those complaints ever again, That being said, I hope they learn their lessons. With Battlefield 2042 is a good lesson for the developers. What needs to be done, what do we expect in the next Battlefield game. I know Vince Zampella is responsible for the whole EA entertainment side of EA. So basically, your first-person shooters, your Titanfalls, your Apex Legends, and all that kind of stuff. So he has a good say, what makes Battlefield fun, what do we expect in Battlefield game, how to make this franchise good and fun and so on. One can only hope, one can only hope that everything is, they know what they're doing. They understand what needs to be done. They will try to execute it, and hopefully there will be no problems. And I think Battlefield 2042 live service is a success because it's actually bringing benefits. People turning around about this game. Is it the best? Of course not. It can be improved as usual. Everything can be improved. I think it can do so much better, but it's doing well. Good steps. No complaints from me regarding that. Just try to do your best. And yeah, that's what I kind of want to talk about because conversations are happening right now about the next Battlefield game. We know what's the future. I'm just gonna say this. I'm really impressed that they actually did not abandon this game. I did say they will abandon this after season 4 and maybe they do something for season 5 and that's it. And half a year later, we're getting 2 more seasons, and that's great. I am surprised they haven't abandoned this game, and I have to give props to DICE. They proved me wrong. They actually proved me wrong, and they broke the pattern I was not expecting they're gonna break. So that's why I expect the next Battlefield game to break that pattern and actually release in a good state with the quality of life stuff, features, whatever, still being in the next game when the next game releases, I hope they're gonna break that pattern and they're gonna surprise everyone. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about. I really want to talk about what's happening in the Battlefield community, what they're talking about, about the leaks. Well, not really leaks, a discussion about the next game, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just hope everything's gonna go well. I'm certain that in the next couple of months we're gonna hear more about what's happening in the Battlefield franchise. Let's see what the season 7 and season 8 and 9 hold in the future. Of course, we're gonna talk about that later on. Let's focus on season 7 for now. But let's see how it goes. I do hope they're gonna add spectator mode for season 7 because I would love to make another trailer for Battlefield because those do pretty well all the time from my channel. So, but yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to this season 7. I'm really looking forward to the tiny story bits that are probably being included on those maps, and maybe they're gonna, maybe do a cinematic or something like that. Probably not, but just expand the lore. Expand the lore. Connect all the previous games. Try to do this 2142 thing. Connection. Keep going. Have Titans or the coalition or the Pan-Asian coalition. The factions. Of those games. Whatever the case may be. I hope they're gonna add all of that. It's gonna be great, and it's gonna explore the lore, and and when the next game comes out, we can pretend like Battlefield 2042 was not in a bad state, and specialists went that thing, and so on, all that kind of stuff. Let's just hope. Let's just hope Season 7 is great. Everything is perfect. And yeah, that's kind of it. So, all in all, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for listening to my ramblings about Battlefield. Thank you for listening what I had to say about the franchise, what I expect for the future, what are my thoughts about it. And I'm going to see you guys on the next episode. Like I said, check out our Patreon if you really enjoy our ramblings, you really enjoy what we have to say about, Battlefield on this podcast. I think you're going to enjoy what we have to say on the Patreon about everything else. I think we have amazing discussions there. I think me and Ray doing some amazing stuff. I'm actually planning to do more stuff on the Patreon because I'm trying. I already asked my friend to do something for me, and we'll do something together and see how it goes. And yeah, that's kind of it. So follow our socials, leave a rating on this episode, or podcast. Share it, let everyone know that we exist, and let me know what you think. Just let me know what's your opinion about anything Battlefield related or anything else. And of course, check out my YouTube channel at TheLankySoldier, and watch my videos. Let me know, leave comments, and that's good. So thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys on the battlefield, and have a good day. Don't be a douchebag. Just have fun, enjoy your video games, and just be a good person. That's kind of it. So thank you guys for everything. We'll see you guys on the next episode.